Let's go into warrior sequence. So here's the warrior sequence. It begins with warrior one. So same thing again, just as a refresher. Make sure the knee is bent, toes going directly forward. Make sure the hips are square. So you can just very subtly turn the hips. Make sure the back leg is straight, back foot flat. Another common adjustment just to softly place your foot down. So reminding your student to press the outer edge of the foot down. Shoulders relaxed, elbows straight, looking forward or up, palms apart or together. Warrior one. Warrior two. So she opens her arms coming into warrior two. Good. Bending the knee. Again, knee over the ankle, toes going directly forward. Common mistake, you'll see booty out, belly out. So I call this the Pillsbury boy poke. Okay. So I just go like this and I poke the belly and poke the back. So I'm kind of engaging her core, reminding her to kind of flatten out and to round the tailbone underneath as opposed to sticking the booty out. So this little poke kind of deals with that. Okay. Then I move on to shoulders relaxed, arms are straight. Common mistake as well, you'll see this back arm because everyone's looking forward, they're not really paying attention to this back arm. So sometimes I may have to come and adjust, or I'll tell the students, looking at your back hand, make sure it's aligned and then come forward. Okay, and then the gaze is over the left middle finger. This is warrior two. Preparing for triangle pose. So she straightens her front leg and then shifts forward, brings her hand onto her shin and the top arm over. So the shin, a block or on the floor, depending on the flexibility. For simplicity, we'll keep it on the shin. So alignment is very important. You want to make sure that the wrist is in line with the shoulder in line with the wrist. Here's an adjustment. You can place hip to hip like we've been doing, roll the shoulder back a little bit, taking them deeper into the triangle pose, Trikonasana. You can cradle the head. Sometimes if you need to, you can hold the head. Getting a little pain and discomfort on the neck, or sometimes students drop their neck, so just giving a little lift will be helpful here, coming into triangle. And let's revolve it. So she brings her right hand down, shortens the stance, steps up a little bit, toes going directly forward. So now we want to square the hips. So we're just holding here and making sure the hips are squared and the front leg is straight. I come over to this side and then she reaches her left hand up. Same thing, I hold the left hand, gently press down, lift her up, lengthen. Good. And back to pyramid pose. So she folds forward, pyramid pose. Again, square the hips. Maybe you do like you did for the forward fold. Press and gently like this. Good. Rise back to warrior two. Good. Now reverse warrior. So she flips the hand, reaches towards the back wall, back hand on the back leg. So sometimes people do straighten the knee. So a little reminder, just bend the knee just a little bit, make sure they're gently in there. The arm is straight. Sometimes I know people teach it like this, but we try to keep the arm straight. It just feels better for the alignment of the side body. Reverse triangle. She straightens her front leg and leans back even more. Common mistake, if you could demonstrate it, they poke the hip the other way. So the hip is actually going this way. So if you can see, there's like this zigzag going on in the body. So to adjust that, 2 fingers, I just poke the opposite hip forward. And now you can see the alignment. So it's one line from the toes, through the leg, through the side body, through the arm, to the fingertips. Okay, one straight line. Okay, back to warrior two. So for humble warrior, not much of an adjustment, more verbal cues. So she's going to interlace her hands behind her, widen the stance. When you widen the stance, you can bring the foot out, square the hips, and then go into humble warrior, making sure that their shoulder isn't resting on their knee. Okay, so again, maybe you square the hips, or maybe you just give a little very gentle stretch to bring the hands a little bit more over. Very subtle, not much here. Back to warrior two. Good. Now we prepare for warrior three, the balancing pose. Let's move you back just a little bit so we don't go out of frame. Okay, so here we are in warrior two. So she leans forward with her front hand, and then you can just spot your student by just coming here, holding hands like this. This way they're in balance. Good. So now the right hip has to square, toes down, heel up. Okay, so hang on, I'm gonna let go. So now here's the other place for adjustment. You can come hip to hip, and then you can hold this hip as you kind of guide it and square it. You can also adjust the leg if need be. Good. And the arms, excellent. Okay. Now transitioning into half moon. So she brings her left hand down, right hand up. Again, I'm in the great position where I am. I can just work on rolling this top hip back, flexing the heel. The heel should be in line with the hip, or higher, it's fine, but not lower. Okay, so here, let's say she was rounded, same thing we've been doing, a little press on the shoulder blade and lift the hand up. Revolved half moon. She brings her right hand down, left hand up. Now I cross to the other side, hip to hip. So now you can see what I was doing before on the other side. Holding the wrist and gently pressing and lifting. You can hold this wrist and help them to lift this back leg up because this leg has a tendency to drop. Good. Back to standing split. So she brings the hands down and raises the leg up. You can do it here, or it might be a little bit easier if you come to this side and just lift the leg. Anything they do. These poses, not too much. It's really up to them. Okay, back to warrior two. Side angle pose. Not much to adjust here, but some key things to point out. So she brings her left elbow onto her top thigh. We always bring the left hand into Jnana Mudra, just so that the hand is doing something. It's not kind of just laying dead like this, strong. Okay, top arm over the ear or over the head, very nice. So what she's doing is very nice. One straight line. Common mistake you're gonna see is this leg is a little bit straight and this hip is very high. So kind of like come a little higher with the hip like that. This is what you're gonna see a lot of times, and you'll see kind of stuff like that. Okay, so how do you fix this? Well, again, bend the knee. When you say bend the knee, that kind of already starts to solve the hip problem, and then you can just make the adjustment. So it should be one straight line. We always say from the heel to the hip to the shoulder to the fingertips. You can see the line right there. That's the line. Okay, if you want to, you can go again, just a little roll like this, like we've been doing, to go a little bit deeper if they have the flexibility. Half bind, full bind is really up to the student's level. Okay, so let's say she goes into the half bind, she just wraps the hand behind the top thigh. Maybe I just guide the shoulder back. Not much to do here. It really depends if they're able to bind. Sometimes I actually discourage people from binding because they're not doing it correctly. So let's say she's doing the bind incorrectly. So go into the bind and kind of just face down, how most like beginners would do. So she goes into a full bind. She reaches back. So this is how most people do binds, and this is why I actually tell them don't do the bind. So again, we say just bend the knee and try to bring the body in the same direction forward, and then roll the shoulder back, eyes up. Good. And she can widen her stance and then drop this hip a little bit lower and try to roll the shoulder back coming into the bind. Good. Now release the left hand down onto the ground, right hand up to the ceiling or over the ear. Again, try to find the line. So this is extended side angle pose. Same idea, one line from foot to hand. Okay. Now let's go to revolve. So she brings her right hand down, pivots on the ball. You must give this cue, and you can squeeze the back leg straight. Okay, just a little lift of the knee gives them the idea to straighten the back leg. Cross over to the other side, just like we've been doing. Position here, and press and lift. Now they have an option. They can stay here, or they could drop to one knee and rest, or they can go to side plank pose. So let's go to side plank pose. So side plank pose, this is a great pose, but it's not for everybody. So let's say they are doing it incorrectly. She's dumping down, so I tell students, lift the hips up a little bit, take the weight off of the wrist, off of the shoulder by sending the hips up toward the ceiling. And then you can give a little bit of a lift here like this, or just a little bit of lift of the hip. Most of the time is done from behind, so you will hold the wrist or lift here. Very simple, okay? So now left leg comes forward into lizard pose. So hands are on the inside, looking forward, rocking back and forth is a little nice way to open the hip. Alignment is key with these poses. Wrists in line with the shoulders, knee and foot of the front leg, front foot flat, back foot on the ball. Or she can come onto elbows and forearms. She can keep the leg lifted, or you can straighten the knee, or she can drop the knee and turn the foot over. Eyes must look forward, heart must reach forward. A lot of times people want to drop their neck when they get to this pose. Still looking forward, reaching forward. Very nice, okay? And then here, many variations, but for the sake of this, keep it very simple. Let's come back up onto the hands. Heel, toe the foot to the other side of the mat. And carefully drop the knee down. So now she's going into pigeon. Pigeon, not too much as far as adjustments, but what you could do is point out a couple things. The knee and the foot are in one line. The front knee and the foot are in a line. Body is squared. You can roll the shoulders back a little bit to give them a little bit of a lift, a little bit of a height. That's enough for pigeon pose. If they're falling, you give them a block, but we have a whole another video on the block class with the straps. We'll get to that later. Okay, so now she brings her arms either to the side, so she's kind of like doing no hands again, just opening of the shoulders, or she interlaces her fingers behind her back, roll the shoulders back, very nice. She can go into twists, so she's going to twist over her right, looking, bring the hand, not yet, just bring the hand here, yes. And then yes, a little twist. This is pretty simple enough, most people could do this. What she was about to do is a little bit more advanced. So now let's go into bending and grabbing. Okay? So now she's preparing for the bind. So she could either just grab the foot, that's fine, or hook it into the fold of the arm. She can cross in front, or she can cross behind the head, bringing the hands, yes, exactly. Okay, and looking up or looking down toward this knee. Okay, so always we direct gaze, drishti as well, not just the pose and the breath, we're also directing the drishti. Okay, excellent. Now she releases, comes into just lying down in pigeon, reach the arms forward. So here you can just simply press this hip. So the hip tends to lean back. So we want to just gently press this hip down and then push down. Okay, this is a nice hip opener to release any tension and tightness in the hips. Okay, wonderful. Coming into a three-legged down dog. So she comes back onto her hands, turns her back foot onto the ball, presses the leg up into the air for a three-legged down dog. Good. So everything's aligned, straight line, good. Now we go into preparing to flip the dog, right? So she bends the knee, drops the foot behind, carefully lands on the ball. Very important. This foot has to be on the ball. This leg is completely straight, pushing the big toes down, and then lifting the hip here, and then reaching the arm out. So she can either look forward if she's reaching the arm forward, or let's say she's reaching the arm up, she can look up, okay? Another modified version for most people, a little bit easier, is to bend this knee and bring this knee even with this leg. So do the same thing you're doing with this leg, just walk this foot back. That's it. There's another modification to lift up. Most people can do this easier, okay? And she comes back into downward facing dog. Lengthens the spine. If you want to do the adjustment again, you can do the down dog adjustment. Comes into child's pose, rests in child's pose. And of course, we did this at the start. A nice little massage on the lower back, preparing for child's pose. Okay, pressing here. And pressing here. Okay. So that completes the adjustments and assists for the warrior sequence.